Hi everyone. What you were looking at in this little green tub here is all of my 4x4 tiles that I was doing with Art 42. And it was a swap. I must admit I don't do a lot of swaps. I haven't done any swaps this year except for this one. And the only reason I'm doing this one is because I want to, once they're all done, mount the entire alphabet into our guest room upstairs, which is also the boys' room. And what's really neat is when you get art from completely different people all together, it just looks fabulous. So once I get them all, I am on letter P for parakeet. I will do I'll show them all to you. So I am on QRST. And I thought I'd do them all. U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So how many is that? Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So that's 10 of them. And what I'm going to do is 5 of one style and 5 of another. And then they'll all be done. So, sorry my hands are all inky, but I was testing out some stuff. And so the reason I'm doing 5 of one style and 5 of the other, because sometimes you get, in all of these ones, I've only got one of mine back. But I don't want to get all of them back in the same style. You know what I mean? So this one is M, and I see it's come unglued in the packaging. It's kind of funny I got the M back randomly, and that's my name, eh? But that's the one I made with that foil. So, like I said, once I get them all, I will show them all to you because some of them are, they're all cool. So what I'm using for my inspiration, jennibellie just did an amazing video called Background, what did she call it? A bunch of backgrounds. And I tried one of them the other day, and I'm going to try one style on 5 of these. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll try the other style on the other 5. So the first one I'm going to do, and I'm going to work on this side because this was a leftover poster when Turner was making something for Papa, and these are some kind of crackers. So I need to cover over the side that has stuff on it. So the one thing you're going to need is some old text. Now I'm sure a lot of you have seen these, so I'm not going to go over them in lots of detail because, you know, jennibellie just did that. But I'm just going to give them a try. I thought this is a perfect way to try out some of these different techniques that you see that you're too scared to put in an art journal or something. This is a much smaller project. It'd be great if these fit perfectly, wouldn't it? But even if they don't, it doesn't matter. I'm going to cut one out for each one and cover them up. But I think the trick to this was to take Mod Podge and make sure that your cards are completely covered. And from what she was saying, goo gobs of it. So like I mentioned before, I made my own Mod Podge. It was probably 2/3 white glue and 1/3 water. And there was some Mod Podge, about a quarter left in the jar. So I just added to that. I should put some scrap paper under. I wonder why my mat always gets so gross. This is why, because I never put scrap paper underneath. Unless I'm really spritzing or spraying or something. But you see how much I'm generously slopping this on. I hope I'm doing this right. I tried it on something the other day, but the problem is my gesso is so old. Like it's almost like toothpaste, and when I first got it, it was like smooth, like a thick paint. So then you just cover up your surface with this, but you also need to put some on the back of this as well. Okay, so I'm just guesstimating that that's about the size of 4x4, somewhere in there. And you just slap that puppy right on top of that tile. So they'll be quite slippy. So I'm going to get all 4 of these covered up. So I cut these all out and I got them all trimmed, and even some of the ink that was on the other side. Remember, I was trying to use up scraps of paper covering it up, but it's still kind of soaked through, but that's okay. That will just add more character to my letters. So I broke down and got my craft mat out. I thought, don't be silly, Monica. So the next step you're supposed to do is cover these up with the Mod Podge. So I'll quickly do that. And then with whatever amount of Mod Podge that you put on, which of course you're guesstimating, so I'm just kind of putting a medium to light coat on them. That's how much gesso you apply. So what I did is remember I told you my gesso was kind of coming to its last leg here. So I just tried and experiment, and I added a little bit of water and a little bit of white paint, and I've stirred it up in here, and it still looks kind of grainy. I mean, I definitely, look at it. Looks like cottage cheese and gross, but we shall see. I mean, this is all experimental, and it's background, so you really can't I always think you can't make a mistake. So I'll dip it in and then kind of scrape off the cottage cheesy part, and while the Mod Podge is wet, you just coat over your piece of paper, in my case, my little tiles. And Jenny Bellie said not to go in one specific direction or another, to make your brush go kind of back and forth, because what this is her homemade crackle. So we shall see what we come up with. And then I'm going to quickly dry it with my gun and see if it actually works. And if it didn't, we'll figure something else out. It's great nail polish. So on hers it was drying really quickly, but I see mine's not doing much of anything. So we'll see. I'm not giving up on it yet. It's probably that my gesso is just not really gesso, right? I kind of made white paint out of it. Okay, it kind of crackled a little bit better than I thought it would, considering that the gesso was so old and cruddy. But you can see how it crackled. That's why if you want your brush to be all over, then you'll get more crackle effects. And then what's neat is the text pokes through, and it gives it kind of a wood grainy effect. I'll show you the rest of them. They all kind of turned out kind of cool. See? You can see the crackling. This one did more of a bumping or hilling. There, you can see that, see? Like blistering and ridges and valleys. So I don't want to get rid of that too much, because that makes for a cool background. Because remember, I'm creating background. And I will trim all around the edges there where the paint and gesso and the glue kind of, once they're really, really dry. And then this last one, it just did a little bit. So it did give it kind of a cool effect, but I'm sure that if you try this with a new bottle of gesso, it will work for you. Because it worked pretty good even though I didn't have a new bottle. So now the next background, so the next 5, she said to create stamps with found objects. I already painted the back of the other 5. And I painted them in a cherry blossom pink color, which I think is very, very pretty and happy. So these will be VWXYZ. Yeah, that's what these will be. So my found objects, I was like, found object, because you know I've thrown everything out. I had 2 prescription bottles that I just had refilled. And I also, in the garbage, had put, you know these sponges? I use them quite a bit for whatever. And it was just one part of this was so grungy, I cut it off and had thrown it away. And so I took it out and I made a little spongy one. One for orange and one for, what's the other color? Yellow. So I thought I will use these as homemade stamps. Again, have never tried this before, so you guys are my guinea pig audience. So what you're just creating is kind of a grid just with, oops, with these stamps. So I've got yellow here, and it is called bright yellow. Just shake it up and put a little dabble there. And I've also got pure pumpkin orange. See? These Crafter's Choice acrylic paints are from the dollar store. So that's usually what I get unless there's an unusual color that I can't find there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is start painting. I'll go with the orange first. So I'm just going to dab it in my homemade stamp there. I'm going to start off of the card and then just kind of go across and alternate. You know how you do that. So in my quest for new backgrounds, I was actually looking online for a whole bunch of stencils, and then I have a big Rubbermaid container of stencils that we used to use on our walls for you know, when you would used to stencil the wall when that was in fashion. And then inside of there I had put this one and this one here, this lined one, stripes, and it came with these mats from IKEA, which I thought was fantastic. So I already started spritzing some of them with just some homemade, this is Pacific Point, and then the rest of the stencils pretty much look like these kind. Lots of flowers and squirrels and stuff. I have books and books of them. So yeah, it's best to look through your stuff to see what you've got before. So I let these ones dry overnight, these guys, because there was so much Mod Podge through there even when I was stenciling it. So this is the next day. So what I'm going to do, I was using corrector, you know, correction ink and making white circles around 5 of the blue random 5, but it's kind of running out. So I'm going to go to my pen here. This is one of those Signal gel pens, and they are so good. So I'm going to just make 5 light circles just kind of randomly. And then I'm going to put those, you know, little dotted lines all the way around. No rhyme, no reason, very whimsical. Actually, I forgot a step. Oopsie. So I'll let this dry, and then I'll go over those little lines. I used Distress ink first. I was wondering why those white circles weren't showing up. This is Gathered Twigs Distress ink, and I'm just going to go over this, all over this with Gathered Twigs. It gives a little bit of warmth to it, and also wherever those crackles and bumps are, they really show up really, really well. Because for these last 10, for me, it's all about background and background techniques. So, okay, now I will go over these again with the pen, and it should show up much better. 1, 2, 3, and I'll do a couple over here. 4. We'll just make that a circle, and then I'll go ahead and go over those lines I was doing before, and they will stand out much better on this Gathered Twigs. I have on a glove because yesterday my hand got covered in that green and blue spray, and I couldn't get it off, and I just got it off on my left hand, and I have to go out today, so I just wanted to try as much as I can to keep that hand clean, because obviously it must have been my left hand that I was using to smoosh and smear, you know. And I've also been using it to do this, to clean the tip off the pen, and especially off this corrector's ink. So then all I'm going to do now is add my letter. So the last one is U. I found the glue gun wasn't sticking that well last night, maybe because it wasn't quite dry. So I'm using this Tombow Mono Aqua. I love this glue. It's really good. It's almost like that Scotch Quick Dry adhesive, but I like it even better. So there, that's on there, good to go. And so I've got those first 5 already done. So here's Q, R, S, T, and U. And they all have really neat, cool backgrounds. So they almost look like this one here almost looks like it's wallpaper, scrapbook paper. Isn't that neat? I just love how that turned out. Okay, so I've got to take this last U and just let it really dry. I'll put it over here separate from the rest. So now I'm going to go on to working on the pinky ones. So I was really feeling that these needed some dimension, and that's why I love keeping my Big Shot right on a counter within reach, so you don't have to go searching for it. And I just grabbed the Bingo embossing folder. I don't know if you can see the numbers. And I thought it would be kind of a juxtaposition to the numbers to have, to the letters, like, you know, the V, W, X, Y, Z, to have numbers on the back. So what I'm going to do, instead of always going to, what I always go to, the darker Distress inks to pop the numbers, I'm just going to use Craft White, Stampin' Up! White ink, and just sponge it across so that the numbers pop. Just going to take a clean part of this sponge and I need to refill this ink and pop the numbers. Yeah, it needs a refill unless I just go directly, oh, I'll just go direct from the ink pad right to the surface. Yeah, that's perfect. And none of the ink is going onto the pad because it's dry. Or none of the paint. Look at how nice that's picking up. Can you see that? So here are my finished tiles. I had a little bit of detail on them. So there's the Q. Try to get rid of the shadow. And can you see I found some little heart buttons? So there's a little heart button on there with wire, green wire instead of twine in it. So I think that's just cute. And then the R, same thing with the button. S, T, and U. So I think they turned out really, really nice with the texturing, the circling around the dots, the little button with the green wire to coordinate with the green stripe, and the button is blue. I just think they turned out really, really good. And just like, I just felt they were too one-dimensional before. So that's those. And then the next set, so we ended up at U. So we have our V, W, X, Y, and Z. So what I did for these ones, all of the letters coordinated. They were all that pretty orangey frosty color. Can you see that? They're sort of frosty. And then I just add a little tiny little bling. It's like a pearl brad and a yellow felt flower. Honestly, when you're doing these kinds of things, go through your stash because it's stuff that you've just got in there just add it to your things. I mean, I had these yellow flowers. When I first started this, I had no intention of using them, but they really pick up the yellow paint in the background, and it made it just look so cute and whimsical. So there's V, W, X, Y, and Z. So I am so happy with how these turned out. And I'm also so happy that I am done the entire alphabet. So I cannot wait to get them back. And so once I do, and once I get it mounted, I will show you guys how it turns out, because some of them are just really cool. Well, most of them are. So it just, oh, looks really neat. And I know this is going to look cool. And I thought, what a funky way to have the alphabet displayed in our guest room. So whether there's adults there or the grandsons or kids, it's still going to look appropriate is the word I'm looking for. And look how nice my mat all cleaned up. I love this mat. If you guys get a chance to go to IKEA, get this. And with those stencils and stuff, it's a great deal. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys all next time.